While I was working a holiday shift, one that offered double pay, which I needed, my parents extended an offer to host my children for Christmas Eve. Since my ex and I share custody and the children were scheduled to be with me, they claimed it was an opportunity to spend quality time with their grandchildren. I hesitated. Our history had been fraught with tension. Still, they insisted, assured me it would be special, a proper family celebration. Reluctantly, I agreed. That evening, when I returned to pick them up, I immediately sensed something was wrong. My daughter, only 7, sat quietly, clutching a small, crumpled roll of toilet paper with unsettling care, as if it were something precious. My son, 10, silently handed me a folded note and avoided eye contact. The note read, "Ask your dad why you're not worth it." A coldness spread through me. I asked them gently what had happened. My daughter murmured something about being seated at a servant's table, away from the others. My son, voice barely audible, told me they hadn't been permitted to open the real presents. Those were reserved for the real grandkids. They had watched their cousins open tablets, bicycles, consoles, expensive shoes. There had been no gifts labeled with my daughter's name. And when my son asked why they hadn't received anything, an adult reportedly laughed and said, "Maybe ask your dad." I didn't scream. I didn't call. I didn't confront anyone. Because I realized something then. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't forgetfulness. It was deliberate. A calculated act of cruelty, designed to humiliate me through my children. This was retribution, for distancing myself from them, for not meeting their expectations, for choosing work, independence, and boundaries over blind loyalty, for no longer serving their image of who I should be. I didn't respond in anger. I responded with clarity. And I began to plan, not an impulsive act of revenge, but something deeper, strategic, unmistakable. Over the next 2 weeks, I reviewed every shared account, every document, every obligation I had quietly managed on their behalf. Responsibilities I had assumed over the years because they were too disorganized, too indifferent, or too proud to handle them themselves. They had long depended on me to cover bills and emergencies, to maintain access to the family's financial infrastructure, to manage their retirement fund, their property taxes, the so-called family vault. I was the one who created the systems, the spreadsheets, the backups. I had access they had forgotten or never fully understood. They had mistaken my silence for compliance, my efficiency for obedience, my loyalty for weakness. They wanted to send a message that day by belittling my children. Now I was sending one back. And today it began. Now they're calling panicked, shouting, "What did you do? You're destroying the family." But I am not destroying the family. I am revealing what's been hiding behind its polished surface. My parents have always been expert performers, flashing smiles at charity events, curating warmth for social media, name-dropping the grandchildren they disregarded unless an audience was watching. But behind the curtain? Control, guilt, and love with terms and conditions. This time, there will be no curtain left to hide behind. Not anymore. The week following Christmas, I began making calls, discreetly, systematically. The so-called family vault was a modest investment account created after my grandmother's passing, intended solely for emergencies. Conveniently, it had been placed in my name, primarily for tax purposes. That had been my father's idea. "You're good with numbers," he told me back then. "You'll keep us safe." And I had until now. I transferred my rightful portion, legally and cleanly. The remainder, I froze by initiating an audit. I attached supporting documentation, highlighted inconsistencies, and let the process unfold. I didn't need to accuse anyone of fraud. I simply raised enough red flags that every dollar they attempted to access would now come with a question mark and a delay. Then I turned to the mortgage. 3 years prior, they had refinanced their home using my credit. My father's history disqualified him, and my mother's income wasn't sufficient. They'd asked me to co-sign, just temporarily, they'd said. It hadn't been temporary. But now, I submitted the appropriate paperwork to remove myself from the loan, triggering a complete reassessment. Their interest rate spiked. A new lender was required. The administrative gears began to turn. They were unaware for now, but they would feel it soon. First as confusion, then as panic. And still I said nothing. I ensured every action was documented. Every legal checkbox completed. Every account they had forgotten I could access, quietly secured and retracted. This wasn't vengeance through chaos. It was precision. One evening, my daughter approached me hesitantly. "Daddy," she asked, "was I bad on Christmas?" I knelt beside her and looked her in the eyes. "No, sweetheart," I said gently. "But some people were." It started with a voicemail. My father's voice, tightly composed and vaguely performative. "Hey, strange thing, bank called. Something about the mortgage being flagged. Just give me a call. We'll sort it out." I didn't respond. 3 days later, my mother left a message. Her voice was sharp, brittle. "We received some reassessment paperwork." "What is this? It doesn't make sense. Fix it. You're making us look like fools." There was no apology, no mention of the children, only fear that someone might perceive them as anything less than perfect. Then the consequences accelerated. Their next monthly mortgage payment failed. I had removed my bank account from their autopay system. The application was flagged as incomplete. And now, under their own credit profiles, their interest rate had climbed nearly 5%. They were about to owe thousands more per year. And the new lender required full financial documentation. That's when the text messages began. "We know this is you. This is vindictive. You're destroying the family." I didn't reply, but I continued. I closed the shared Amazon account, long used by them, but billed to my card. I removed them from the bundled insurance policy I had once paid to protect them. My father's truck, my mother's phone plan, each now billed separately at full market rates. Autopay disabled. Eventually, they called again. This time I answered, not to argue, only to confirm. "Yes," I said calmly. "I'm making changes." Then I ended the call. They assumed that was the final blow. They didn't realize I had one more card to play. There was one last vault. Not financial, but damning all the same. They had forgotten it even existed. 2 years ago, I had helped install a home security system at their request. What they didn't remember was that it automatically uploaded footage to my cloud. One of the indoor cameras faced the dining room. Late one night, I accessed the footage. And there they were. My children had been seated at a folding table near the laundry room, beside the trash bins. No decorations. Paper plates. No name tags. Nothing resembling festivity or warmth. Meanwhile, in the main dining room, their cousins laughed and tore through piles of expensive, gift-wrapped boxes. My son tried to smile through it, struggling to hold back tears. My daughter clutched a roll of toilet paper, unsure if it was a joke or a message. Then my sister approached and wordlessly placed a folded note in front of my son. He read it, and I watched the light leave his face. No one intervened. No one objected. In fact, my father laughed from across the room. That was the moment something broke inside me. But now I had proof. The footage from the dining room camera was clear, time-stamped, and undeniable. I clipped the segment. I didn't upload it publicly. That would have been too easy, too performative. Instead, I sent it privately. To every extended family member who had ever questioned my distance. To the pastor who wondered why I no longer attended family Sundays. To my uncle who proudly publishes the church's outreach newsletter. No commentary. Just the video, the date, and an image of the note given to my son. Subject line: what they gave my children for Christmas. The fallout was immediate and nuclear. Phones rang. Messages stopped coming in. My cousin withdrew from a joint business project with my father. My aunt demanded an apology, before we even consider inviting you to future family gatherings. The whispers began at church. The carefully crafted image of the perfect, doting grandparents shattered. That morning, my phone rang. My mother, sobbing and hysterical. "What did you do? You're destroying the family." No, they destroyed it the moment they saw my children not as people to love, but as instruments to punish me. I didn't create the damage. I simply ensured it couldn't be hidden anymore. And as for my children, they have a new tradition now. No folding chairs. No toilet paper wrapped as a gift. No more pretending. 3 months later, update. I hadn't planned to revisit this. But a few people asked what happened next. The short version? They're still unraveling. My parents attempted damage control, claiming the footage was misleading. That the kids were in on a joke, that it had all been taken out of context. No one believed them. Even my uncle, previously neutral, told me privately they'd been informally blacklisted from family gatherings. He also mentioned the church had removed them from the community Christmas committee. Last month, my father sent a text. "You've turned everyone against us. Congratulations." I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. As for my children, they're healing. My daughter has stopped asking why her grandmother didn't love her. My son is in therapy. It's helping. We celebrated our own Christmas later. Quietly, just the three of us. No chaos. No expectations. Only time, presence, and gifts chosen with care and intention. And they smiled. Truly smiled. That's the moment I'll carry with me. Not the revenge, not the silence or fallout. Just the look on their faces when they finally felt safe. Valued. Enough. Exactly as they've always deserved to be.